couple of the other measures of spread or dispersion. Range is the first of these. This is a very simple way to calculate it. You just take the largest value of the data set and subtract the smallest value from that. So our range is the max data point minus the min data point, and these two values will be given in your calculator as well. Now range just tells you how far apart they are totally. Now, it's not a great measure of spread, but it's certainly one that we can look at. This next is actually a definition that's going to help us determine or help us interpret the other method of spread, which are the quartiles. So this definition is of the kth percentile. Some books also use pth percentile. It simply indicates the percentage of which the data point is greater than. In general terms, say you took the ACT test and your score was very high and you came back and said you were in the 98th percentile. Well, that simply means that you are better than 98% of other people who took the test at that time. Similarly, you bring your child into the doctor's office when they're very young, say 1 or 2 years old or whatever, and they tell you the percentile rank for, say, height. If your child is in the 10th percentile for height, the child is very short comparatively speaking to other children of that age. So 10th percentile means the child is only taller than 10% of the other children of that age. So that's how that's what this definition is, and we're going to use it in a moment. So the quartiles are the other measure of spread that I'm going to go over in this video here. The first quartile is also called the lower quartile, or QL, and it is simply the point at the 25th percentile. The second quartile is the median, the 50th percentile. So we earlier determined how we calculate the median. The third quartile is also known as the upper quartile, or QU. So it's Q3 here. It can also be called QU. It is the point at the 75th percentile. So 70% of the data is below that given point. Now to calculate these by hand, we've already talked about calculating the median. Once you find the median, you break the rest of the data up into two sets, the values below the median and the values above it. And then for each of those sets, you find the median again, the median of that half of the set. So the median of the lower half of the set is Q1, the median of the larger set is Q3. Now, the interquartile range is a value that tells us the middle 50%. So the IQR, or interquartile range, is simply the upper quartile minus the lower quartile, or as you can see, Q3 minus Q1. Now, we use the interquartile range to determine if there are outliers in a data set. An outlier is something that is far away from the rest of the data. So if you have a whole bunch of data points in the range of, say, 10 to 20, and then you've got a data point that is over 100, chances are that data point that's over 100 is an outlier. It doesn't fit with the rest of the data. Now, to determine this, we compute the interquartile range. So we need to find Q1 and Q3, and your calculator will do that, and I will show you in a later video how to do that. The lower fence, so any value below the lower quartile, Q1, minus 1.5 times the interquartile range, is going to be an outlier. Similarly, any value that is more than 1.5 times of the IQR above the third quartile, or upper quartile, is also going to be considered an outlier. Now here's just a basic box plot considering your 5-number summary. This 5-number summary is on the second page when we do the one variable statistics on the calculator. They're typically given in this order, in fact. Now, this is a very symmetrical distribution that I've given you data for. Remember, anytime you're making a box plots, that you have to make sure that you draw it to scale. If you notice, I have a number line below it. This one just happens to be every point, but if, say, the minimum was 4, I would have to put a point in this general area where 4 should be, and there we have a much longer line for this lower fence and so forth, or this lower whisker. So you have the minimum, the Q1, the median, which is also Q2, Q3, and the maximum. And we draw a box in the middle.